Did you just put the ring on, or are you in the first few years of your marriage? Welcome to the First Year Marriage Show, a podcast dedicated to helping newlyweds navigate the first few years of marriage. My husband, Marcus, and I will be sharing marriage tips to help you build a strong foundation for your marriage. We believe having a strong foundation is essential to having a happy, healthy, and lasting marriage. We will also be learning from the experiences of awesome married couples who have been where you are today, taking from them lessons to help you build a strong foundation for the lasting marriage you desire. Take a deep breath, relax, learn, and enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the First Year Marriage Show. I'm Marcus Kusi and I'm here with my wife, Ashley.
Hello.
And today on the show, we're going to talk about the adjustments newly married couples have to make during their first year of marriage or during the first couple of years that they're married in order to be able to adjust to married life and be able to learn from each other in order to build a strong foundation for their marriage. Another thing that I'll be sharing today will be some tips or some lessons that we learned along our journey in the first year and tips that couples can apply in their first year of marriage to be able to adjust to married life and to each other.
So first, let's talk about why we have to make adjustments at all. Being that we're two different people with two different personalities, there's a big difference between dating and being married. There's a big difference between living together and being married. Even if you've been lived together for an extended period of time, being married, having that piece of paper, something changes. And that doesn't mean it's good or bad, but it's just there's some adjustments that need to be made. When you make adjustments for your marriage, you're setting up the blueprint of how you want your marriage to operate. So it's really important to do this in the beginning of your marriage. Really, to how you respond to adjusting in marriage really sets the tone for your whole relationship. You want to be on the same page. You want to set goals for your marriage, pick a family theme. And to do this is going to require you to work through your adjustments.
So what kind of adjustments do you have to make as a newlywed or as a newly married couple? Well, there are a lot of adjustments that you have to make. For us, it varied from living together to changing our mindsets to developing certain character traits. But for most couples, it's mostly going to be from living on your own to living together with your spouse or with your wife or with your husband. And with these adjustments, it's going to take time for you to be able to agree on certain things or compromise or be able to go through all of them. We always recommend that newlyweds see the first year of their marriage as a transitional period whereby they'll be able to learn from each other and be able to adjust very well to each other and to their married life. Because once you are married, everything changes. It's not the same as previously as you were engaged. For me personally, one of the big adjustments that I had to make was changing my thinking, my mentality from I to we. And when I say from I to we, I had to stop thinking about just me to we. An example that I'll give is, let's say before we got married, I had about $5,000 or $6,000 or even $20,000 in the bank. And when we got married, and Ashley didn't have any money because she didn't save any money. She spent all of her money partying, buying clothing to look beautiful and attractive for me to approach her. Because of that, after we got married, I had to think, do I really have to give up all my money, the $20,000 I had saved, combine everything, even though she misspent her money and didn't really spend her money wisely? And, going through that adjustment was a little bit difficult because I worked hard for my money. Technically, I didn't have $20,000. If you think I had $20,000, no, I didn't have $20,000. I'm just using it as an example. And it wasn't an easy shift in mindset for me. I had to go through a process whereby I had to think about, it's not just going to be about me. It's going to be about we. So whatever I had to think that, it's no longer mine. If I had a car, it's no longer my car. It's our car. Yeah, I had money. It's no longer my money. It's our money. I had investments. No longer my investment. It's our investments. I didn't have a house. So thankfully, we didn't have to think about paperwork with all that kind of stuff. We didn't have any big assets that, we had to do paperwork to change ownership from just being me to it being us. And that was a big, transition for it. Might not be a transition that would be easy for most couples or most newlyweds, but it's a transition that almost everybody will go through because Once you get married, it's no longer I, it's going to be we. So now you have become two unique individuals who have come together to combine their resources, their energies, their strength, their ideas to form a unit which will be called a new family. And with you having that unity together, you'll be able to move forward in your marriage and be able to build a strong foundation for a marriage. I actually have some debt, and I didn't have any debt coming into our marriage. Taking up on her debt, her student loans, was something that wasn't easy for me because I didn't sign up for those. It wasn't anything that I had to do with me, but because we are now married, I had to see it as our debt, as something that we together have as one, and we had to work together to be able to get rid of it. And that is something that I learned from our first year, and a big adjustment that I really had to make.
Yeah, that was also hard for me. It's going from I to we. But the biggest thing, our first year of marriage for me, the biggest adjustment I had to make was really, I guess, my emotions. You could sum it up in that word. I was very, very quick tempered. And I kind of just went from 0 to 60 really quick. I didn't have much patience. So if he said one little thing and not even saying he did it on purpose, it could have been a misunderstanding. Maybe I didn't hear him right. There's that communication thing. Then I would just be like, freaking out, like, why would you say that? What's wrong with this? And I really had to learn to just take a breath, take a step back and think, my husband has the best intentions towards me. So maybe he doesn't mean this the way I'm taking it. Maybe it's not what I'm thinking. Maybe I don't really need to get upset about this. And then sometimes I just needed to learn to have some more patience because, he is so patient with me. Why shouldn't I return the favor? That's really the biggest adjustment for me, was the patience and readjusting my whole thinking to know that he has the best intentions towards me. I need to just take a breath, chill for a minute, and just rethink this. One thing that we want to touch on about adjustments is, does this mean that you have to change who you are? The answer to that is yes and no. Change can be a really scary word, but newlyweds must be ready for change because marriage is completely different from any other kind of relationship. Change is definitely a word that a lot of people don't like to hear, and it's even worse, some people don't even think they have to change. But to excel at anything in life, we all have to be open to change. I'm not talking about changing the core of who you are. I'm talking about changing character traits by improving them. Like, I had to become more patient. Marcus was talking about being less basically selfish and becoming selfless. So it's honing our character traits, becoming better people. That's the type of change we're talking about. We're not talking about, oh, well, now I'm married to you, so you have to do things this way and that way and my way, or the highway, basically. We're not talking about, well, yeah, I know I was okay with this before marriage, but now we're married, so I'm not okay with it. Certain things like that, you should definitely talk about before you get married. That's big things. Like, one example of this would be, Marcus told me he didn't want anybody who smoked or drank, and I was doing both at the time. I was in a party stage, and I know smoking is disgusting for me, and I did it because I was bored. I had only done it maybe 6 months. And I was like, okay, no problem. That's done. That's not the kind of life I want to have anyway. I said, but I'm not going to drink and party and get drunk, but I am going to have a glass of wine every now and then because I don't see a problem with that. So he accepted that. He accepted that I wasn't going to fully change. I'm not going to just mold into the exact person that he wanted me to be at that point, because I'm keeping myself, like a part of myself. So there are certain things that you give up when you get married, and but it's for the better. It has to be for the better. One thing that's very important to mention is that I've heard and seen with my own eyes so many people, especially, I guess I could be stereotypical and say the women, they kind of just change so much of themselves that after the kids leave the house, they're kind of just like, well, I don't even know who I am anymore. I'm not the same person. And then they end up leaving their husband, or even, I don't know if it'd be worse, but just staying there miserable and leaving two separate lives in one house. So what we're not talking about here is, like, for an example, I'm more of an extrovert than Marcus. He's more of an introvert right now. Not saying that's not going to change in the future and in certain situations, but just because we're married, I'm not expecting him to be an extrovert and want to go out and do a bunch of things and be outside the house a lot. We had to come to a compromise and realize that, okay, well, let's go out of the house and do things this many times in the month, but I'd like to stay in this much. We'd had to compromise and talk to each other and work together about this.
So when you get married, you don't have to change who you are as a person. You have to be who you are, but you have to adjust to married life and to your spouse. That is something that's very, very important. You're going to move from being a single person to being a married person. And the change that you're going to make from being single to married, the adjustment that you're going to make is not something that is supposed to change who you are as a person. You're going to be who you are as a person, just that you're now no longer going to consider yourself as an individual who is single. Everything you're going to do is going to be that you are a married person, and for the better of both of you as a married couple. Sometimes the adjustments that you go through so much that, sometimes you become so overwhelmed, and, sometimes you even doubt yourself or even think in your mind, did I marry the right person? Is this what marriage is supposed to be? I thought marriage was supposed to be something that you'd say I do and it's all happily ever after. But I want to assure you, it's not something that is bad. It's something that everybody goes through. It's just like when a mom has a baby for the first time. She goes through an adjustment period of learning how to take care of the baby. Just like when a newborn is born into the world, they also go through adjustments, and it's something that you have to go through to be who they are. It's natural. It's not something bad at all. You should see it as something positive, which, if handled well, will lead to you guys building a strong foundation. There are a lot of ways that, you can do certain things to help you adjust very well in your marriage. Some of the ways that you can do to help you adjust very well in your marriage and reduce the stress that you go through, or the overwhelming feeling that you experience as a newlywed, is learning how to communicate with your spouse. If you know how to communicate with your spouse very well, the adjustments that you go through will be not as difficult or not as hard as you think it might be. Also, another thing you can do will be trying to understand where your spouse is coming from whenever you're having a conversation. Don't just think that you're thinking the same way that you think. Look at it from their point of view. Let them see that, you are trying to understand what they are saying. If you do this, you'll be able to understand them, where they're coming from, and be in a better position to help them adjust to the new life that you have together. Another thing that you have to do is to have an open mind. If you don't have an open mind and your mind is really closed, you are not open to any suggestions or anything that your spouse has to say.
Or a different way of thinking.
Trust me, it's something that is not going to help you at all during this adjustment period. And you also have to learn how to work together, because if you don't know how to work together, the adjustment is not going to be easy at all, because there will be a lot of compromising that you guys have to do together. You have to talk about a lot of things. You have to look inward into yourself and see who you are and think about bettering yourself, becoming someone who is willing to put in the effort to improve the marriage or the adjustments that you guys are going through. It's not only you, the wife, or you, the husband, that you're going through this adjustment. Your spouse is also going through the same adjustment. They also have the same feelings, the same emotions. And if you're able to talk about them, you'll be in a better position to be able to really utilize these adjustments to build a strong foundation for the marriage that you want. Because the first year is basically the year that, you set the ground for your marriage. Everything that you do in the first year will play a really big role or a big impact on how your marriage is going to be and whether it's going to last or not, whether it's going to be healthy, whether it's going to be a happy marriage, whether it's going to be the marriage that you both desired at the beginning of your marriage.
Not to say that if you didn't do this your first year of marriage, that you're going to have an awful marriage. But you can choose at any point, say, you know what? All right, this is it. I really am not happy with where our marriage is today. So we're going to change things up. We've tried it our way and it's really not working. Let's try it this way. And as long as you're both on board and you're both willing to do this, then it should help. As long as you both are willing to take responsibility for your own actions, your own inaction, and your own emotions.
We also went through these adjustments. It wasn't easy for us at all, coupled with the Lemon's life throughout us. We had some really tough moments in our first year of marriage, and we stuck together. The one thing that really helped us with going through our first year marriage. The adjustments that we had was compromising with each other, especially on our marriage expectations, and working together to achieve our marriage goal. Because at the end of our first year, we wanted to achieve our family theme. We wanted to see that our family theme was a reality for us. And by God's grace, at the end of our first year, it was a reality for us. Those are things that we did that really helped us. So the first thing that we did was agreeing on our money. Like, it was a big thing for us because of our different mindsets when it came to money. Ashley is the spender and I'm the saver. She thought having debt was okay. I didn't think having debt was okay. So we had to agree on our finances and we had to create a budget for ourselves to be able to follow that we followed. And it really helped us in our first year of marriage. One thing that we did that really helped us was we both bought Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover book. And it was something that really changed our mindsets and helped us to come to a compromise on our money situation.
The second thing was communication. He speaks male, I speak female. We hear about this all the time, but experiencing it is totally different, especially when you're married. So many of our arguments that first year were due to misunderstanding each other. It's crazy to think back and think about all the little things, the little fights, the little arguments that we had, and how they all originated from a miscommunication. Even if you use the same word as your spouse, their definition of that word may be different.
Another thing that we want to share today is being able to think, to change your mindset from being selfish to being selfless. It's all about putting your spouse's needs ahead of your wants, and being able to do that is something that's going to really help you adjust to married life. An example would be, let's say you want to buy a BMW because you guys have the money right now, but maybe your spouse needs to finish their college degree right away, and the money sitting in the bank. But if you're able to put the money towards their college education, which is something that's going to end up helping both of you in the long term, it's something that's going to help you guys build a really strong foundation for a marriage and be able to progress in your married life. Let's say an example is you buy the BMW that you want right now, and your spouse is not able to finish school. They are going to be hurt emotionally and psychologically, because even though the money was your money, you brought that money into the marriage, they will still feel that, you didn't put their needs ahead of your wants, because getting that BMW is something that's not going to last you for the rest of your life. It's going to break down someday, some point in time. But your spouse getting their college degree is going to help them to be able to further their career, further their knowledge, and further their life.
The fourth thing we'd want to talk about today is boundaries with in-laws, family, and friends. To first set up those boundaries is so important that first year, and it's hard, especially because my family, we're just kind of the last minute drop of the hat kind of stuff, and we didn't want that for our marriage because it didn't mesh with our family theme, which is a peaceful family. Just dropping and going a lot doesn't support that. So we had to learn how to create boundaries, healthy boundaries around our marriage towards friends and family like that. Another part of boundaries is no one loves your spouse the way you do. So if you guys are arguing about something, then don't go to your mother, to your sister, to whoever, and just be like, oh, he's doing this and he's doing that, because then that gives them only part of the picture. And then when you and your spouse work it out, they're going to have that against them, whether they want to admit it or not. There's still that kind of thing. It's like that thing you wish you knew, but you wish you didn't know about somebody when you're talking.
The fifth thing I want to share today with you today is learning how to fight fair or argue or disagree in a very healthy way. We know we are two unique individuals, and as a married couple, you have a completely different mindset about the way you do things. You probably would want to do certain things in a certain way, and your spouse might want to do it in a certain way, but it's something that needs to be done by either one of you or be done by both of you. And in that situation, you both have to sit down and, have to agree on something in a healthy way without having to end up with you fighting against each other, or, insulting each other or yelling at each other or name calling or probably even, hitting each other. It's something that, if you know how to handle a situation like that, it's going to help you in your marriage.
I think he meant hits below the belt, like name calling and bringing up stuff. There's a way to argue while you're married that's healthy. And that's just having a conversation like mature adults, taking a break when you need to. It's not about who can win, who's going to be right this time. The other thing we want to talk to you about, another adjustment that we had, was meal. Because we're from two different countries, we both have two very different meal lists, foods that we like. Being American, I like all different sorts of food, but, I have my staples like potatoes, for example. And Marcus hates potatoes mostly, but his staple is rice. So we had to just kind of work together to figure out what kind of breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, all that we could like together. Sometimes that we just make special occasions and things like that.
There's something I want to share today with the adjustments you'll be going through is the life challenges and the unexpected events. For us, there were a lot thrown at us in our first year.
A lot.
And even now, we still get a lot of life challenges and unexpected events. But if you and your spouse, you know how to handle these challenges and you know that, it's something that is likely to happen. An example could be losing a job and one of you getting really sick, or let's say one of your in-laws getting really sick to the extent that you both have to move from where you are right now to in order to be able to help your in-law. It's something that's bound to happen. But being able to prepare yourself for it and knowing that if it's something that happens, you'll be in a better position to adjust well with your marriage and with your married life and to each other and to the event that is taking place, you'll be in a better position to be able to handle these situations very well.
The eighth thing that we had to work through would be romance. We had to adjust and learn that, what worked for me that was romantic at first changed, and it continues to change. And I think that's just part of always pursuing your spouse and getting to know them. But now being a mother and going through a pregnancy and breastfeeding and everything like that, it changed everything so that, different stages, different things were romantic to me. Now, seeing my husband play with my daughter and spend quality time with her is like one of the most romantic things. Before, it wasn't that, So just learning how to adjust to that and not totally give up marriage expectations that I had that had to do with romance.
We have to be really honest with each other. That is something that I think it's very, very important as a newlywed. If you're not honest with each other, it's just going to cause a whole lot more, a lot of situations down the road, and it's just going to make your adjustments to marriage and married life very, very awful. Because once one of you lies to the other, it just changes the dynamics of the relationship.
Not even just lying. It's just, I guess, lying by omission. You're just not telling them or communicating to them everything that you should.
To just add to what Jam actually was saying, once you guys are honest with each other, it makes spending time together with each other very, very enjoyable because you'll be able to share your experiences and the emotions that you're going through. You'll be able to say like, oh, honey, before we got married, this was the way I did things. This is how I thought. But now that we are married, everything is changing. And because we're able to spend quality time together and I'm being honest with you, I can share those experiences or those things that I'm going through with you. And, really, it's something that when you guys do together, it's going to keep you guys united and keep you on the path that you want to go and help you build a really good foundation for your marriage. Because unity and trust are things that every successful marriage has. If the couple that are married are not united and they're not honest or trusting or do not trust each other, it just makes everything very, very difficult.
Well, it also keeps you on the same page because if you're thinking a different way or you're going through changes or whatever, then it's not a surprise to your spouse when you're like, oh, hey, by the way, I don't believe this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't like this anymore. Another thing is that being honest with your spouse, like, for instance, Marcus comes up to me with business ideas. He's very entrepreneurial. So I'm going to be honest with him. And like, if he was like, hey, I want to sew dresses and sell them. I know he's not a seamstress. So what is my honest thoughts about this? What are you, crazy? But I'd say it in a nice way, try to really understand what he's saying, where he's coming from. But you have to have that brutal honesty, but also be supportive and be loving at the same time. But honesty is so important.
The last thing we want to add today is, as a newlywed, it would be really, really awesome and fantastic if the two of you can sit down and choose some forbidden words that you don't ever want to say in your marriage. for us, that word is divorce. We don't want to say that in our marriage. And I just, said it on air with actually sitting right by my side. But it's something that we decided not to use in any conversation that we have at home. Like, even if we are arguing or, we are in a tense argument, that is a word that, consciously and unconsciously, we know we don't have to use it. So it'll be really, really ideal for you guys to be able to choose some words that you're not going to say as a married couple to each other. And that's something that's going to help you a lot with your first year or with the adjustments that you're going to go through. Because the adjustments, you're definitely going to have to make adjustments. It's not something that is going to not come. It's going to come your way.
Adjustments are definitely going to happen your first year. Whether you handle them well or not is up to you. And it's really counterproductive in setting up a stable marriage foundation if you don't, try to deal with them in a better way, in a positive way. With divorce rates so high, we want to know and we want to make sure we do anything we can to ensure that we are doing everything we can to have a successful, healthy, and happy marriage. We hope you've learned and picked up a few tips from today's episode. We'd love to hear from you and connect with you. You can send us a message or leave us a comment. Review would be great in iTunes, as well as visiting our website, firstyearmarriage.com. You can get in touch with us there, or our Facebook, which is at Our Peaceful Family. Thank you for listening to another episode of the First Year Marriage Show. To submit a question, feedback, or suggestions for the podcast, visit firstyearmarriage.com/feedback. Apply what you've learned today and build a strong foundation for the happy, healthy, and lasting marriage you desire. Enjoy your marriage. Enjoy your life.